be able to protect them. Who else they looking to? All right? You got the streets out there, our young people, when things ain't going right at home, or when they don't have that support or that protection at home, where they going? They're going to the streets. That's why all these gangs are out here running rapid now, man. Because those gangs are showing them what? Love and protection. You with me now. I got you. I'm going to protect you. That type of thing. All right? So we've got to be able to protect. We got to be able to provide. We got to show that leadership, man. All right? We got to show them all those things that they need as they're coming up. All right? And I've been in the school system for a little while. I spent about 12 years in the school system. Some in Florida, some in Georgia, and a couple of years here in South Carolina. But my wife, Cheryl, she just retired from the school system for 29 years. And so every time that she would come home, we would have conversations about how things went today at school, okay? And some of the things that she shared with me just really hit here, man, because our young children have no direction. They have no guidance the way they should. The reason being is because a lot of it is because they are in a fatherless home. And I'm going to show you some statistics to back up what I'm saying. Okay? And it's hurtful because you walk around the streets, you see all these young people, man, they're disrespectful, they have no manners when it comes to adults. I mean, you could be walking right beside them, man, they're walking over, knock you over, and won't even say excuse me. All right? But we got to go back to parenting. We got to go back to being strong parents and father figures to raise these young men and these young women correctly. Okay? So, the first thing I want to share with you is that as fathers, we got to be present. Okay? We got to be present in our kids' lives. Okay? If something's going on at the school and they want you to come and support them, how many times do we go? Not as much as we should. Whenever there's an opportunity to go to your child's school for whatever they're doing, you need to show up. Because guess what? If that principal calls and he's doing something or she's doing something wrong, you're going to show up then. Now it's time to show up when it ain't that way. Okay? To let them know that, hey, I got your back. Even when you do wrong, I still got your back. But we got to correct what you did wrong, but I still got your back. Okay? So we got to be present. And when I talk about being present, I had two sons that played basketball. They played high school basketball and they played college basketball. And my wife and I, we tore our car up, man. You know why we tore our car up? Because we was up and down the road, up and down the road, up and down the road. Wherever they was at, we were there. Because we were going to support them. I worked a job where I used all my vacation time following my children in sports. So now me and my wife, we can't take no vacation. Because I just spent all my time right behind them. Okay? And you know what? I don't regret one minute of it. Because you know what? All of them got degrees now. All of them. And I'm thankful for that. Okay? But it's because of their support. Because they had a support system, man. Okay? And as a father, I took that serious. Especially raising my children, man. I took that serious. All right? And we've got to take that serious. We've got to be present in their lives, man. Okay? We got to be present. All right? And be available. Okay? Be an example. All right? Be an example. Because you know what? People don't always do what you say. But they're going to do what? They're going to do what you do. They see you doing something. They're going to do that same thing. You can tell them this and tell them that. All right? But you know what? Like they say, talk is cheap. All right? Show me. A lot of times, we do the stuff that we do because we see other people do it. Okay? So you need to be that example in front of that child, man. You know what? If you smoke cigarettes, your child probably will smoke cigarettes. I'm not knocking anybody that smokes cigarettes. That's your bag. That's you do it if you want to do it. If you're out there drinking and if you're out there an abusive man and you fighting your wife and beating your wife and all that other stuff, your child probably going to do the same thing. That's what you're doing. So what are you showing them? What are you teaching them? All right? Teach them the right things. All right? Not that foolishness. Okay? That's why they're in the streets now. And I don't know what we're going to do to get them out of the streets. I think about it all the time. How can we pull them back in? Because they out now, Jack. They out. And we got to do something to pull them back in. Okay? We got to pull them. It says, when we are present in our children's lives, the chances of them going in the system goes down. When I say system, you know what I'm talking about? talking about prison, talking about jail. When we are present in their lives, the opportunity for them to go to jail goes down. Let me show you some stats right here. All right? 70% of the men in prison today grew up without a father figure in their life. 70%. So if I ask 10 people to stand up right now, and I tell 3 of them to sit down, how many is left? 7. That's what I mean by 70% of our young men or fathers are in jail. The government statistics show that 1 of 3 boys grow up without a father in the home. Government statistics show that 1 in 3 boys grow up without a father in the home. But check this out. That stat goes up to 2 out of every 3 for African Americans. Y'all follow me? Yeah. This stuff is real, man. This stuff is real. That's why we got to go back out here and get our kids, man. We don't need to be the jail system. They're building more jails for us to go in. Why can't we be building more schools instead of jails? That's because we as parents and we as fathers, we got to get into their lives, man. We got to get back into them. Right? We got to get in there and start showing them the positive stuff of life, not the negative stuff. And they're going to have some problems. They're going to have some situations. Things going to come up. But you're there. You can help them deal with it a little bit better because you're there. I ain't hear no amens yet, so I don't know if I'm good or bad. I don't know what the deal is. But I'm here. I guess what? It feels right, whether you say it or not. Okay? It says boys and girls without a father at home are 5 times more likely to end up in poverty and much more likely to make decisions that will negatively affect their lives far into the future, including criminal behavior, drug use, and teen pregnancy. See, now I just said a mouthful right there. 5 times more likely to make bad decisions. And every decision you make, guess what's going to happen? There's a consequence for every decision you make. You make a good one, there's a good consequence. You make a bad one, there's a bad consequence. All right? So what should we be teaching our children? To make good decisions, to make better decisions. And so every now and then you're going to make a bad decision. But that's life. Like they say now, the young people say, life be life. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's happening. Okay? So we got to help them make better decisions. Okay? Because we don't need to have more criminal behavior going on. Drug use, teen pregnancy, things of that nature. Now check this out. It says in 1920, 90% of black boys and black girls had fathers in the home. And I thought about that, man. I said, man, back in that time, they had fathers in the home. You know, and I think about my mama's parents. Both of them was in the home. Grandma and grandpa, they was in the home. But check this out as we go a little bit further. 40 years later, in 1960, it was only 80%. Let me take it a little bit deeper. Today, it's about 30% of black boys and girls have fathers in the home. 30%. 30, you heard what I said? 30%. In 1920, it was 90%. Now, what's changed between there? I'll let you answer that question. Don't answer to me, but I'll let you answer and let you think about that question. All right? What's changing? We got to get back to that 90%. All right? And it's going to take us as fathers, as leaders, okay, of our houses, of our families, okay, to get back to that point again. Amen. Belongs to that. And when I first moved back to South Carolina in 1995, I think it was 94 or 95 we came back. 95. Okay. I was working at a local middle school here in Kershaw County. And I was a youth counselor at the school. And we worked kind of hand in hand with the Department of Social Services. And my job was to work with at-risk youth. They call them, I don't like the word at-risk, but that's what they labeled back then, at-risk youth. And at the school, I had 30 at-risk students that I worked with. And part of my job was to go and do a house visit at their house once a month. Because they were at risk. So they wanted us to go and visit and see what was going on in your home and see how things were, and just have a conversation with the parents. I should say parents. Parent. Out of the 30 people that I had, when I went to visit their house, there was only one parent in the house. One. And that was the mom. I take that back. I remember 2 people having a mother and a father in the house. But guess what the father was? He was the stepfather. He wasn't the biological father. He was the stepfather. And I'm not knocking stepfathers. I'm glad somebody's there. But where daddy at? And I just thought about it when I was preparing this thing. I'm like, man, out of those 30, man, we ain't there. No wonder they're at risk. No wonder things are going the way they're going, man. Am I doing all right?
Doing it. Amen.
Nearly 80% of teachers are what? Women, females. And that's great. I'm not knocking that. I ain't knocking that at all. Somebody's got to teach it, okay? But over 40% of the boys are raised by single mothers. 80% of the teachers are females. 40% of our boys are being raised by mothers. This means that nearly half of the boys grow up in mostly or entirely with female influence at home and at school. I don't need to explain that no further. I mean, you should have that. You should understand that. There's a quote that says, sometimes the most important part of love is showing up, being present. Sometimes you don't have to say nothing, just show up. You ever been with somebody when somebody might be going through a hard time or a bad time, or maybe they just lost a loved one, and you want to go and see them, and you want to say something to them, but sometimes, guess what? You ain't got to do what? You ain't got to say nothing. All you got to do is show up. That's all we got to do for our children. We need to show up. Show up. Okay? So that was the first part. So what was the first part? Again, what was that first one?
Be present.
Be present. Okay? The second one says about we need to be fathers of integrity. Okay? We need to be fathers of integrity. And what I mean by that, do what you say you're going to do. We have a tendency as fathers, as daddies, or whatever, sometimes we won't always do what we say we're going to do. We won't show up when we say we're going to show up. I told my daughter I was coming at 5 a.m., at 5 p.m., and she's sitting on the step waiting on me, and guess what happened? I don't show up. What do you think it's doing to that child when you don't show up? You're hurting them, man. And I have permission to share this story about my wife. And we talked about it the other day, but when she was 4 years old, her mother and father separated. And father moved to Florida. My wife's from Georgia. And the father ended up moving to Florida. And he would call and say he's coming by when he was in town. Her and her brother, she's had 2 brothers. They would be sitting outside waiting for him to show up. Because he said he was coming. And they waited. And they waited. And they waited. And he never showed up. And I share that with you because when we don't show up, when we say we're going to show up, that has a negative effect on that child. Now that child growing up with trust issues. Well, my dad said he was coming, but he never came. So now I can't trust people no more. When they tell me they're going to do something, I don't trust them now. Now they got trust issues. And now because they got trust issues, they're going to take those issues and do what? Put them on somebody else. Show up when you say you're going to show up. They're waiting, man. They're waiting. Gotta be there. You gotta show up. And if you can't make it, tell them you can't make it. Don't lie to them. Tell the truth. Tell the truth, because they're gonna appreciate you more at the end because you told them the truth than if you keep telling them you coming and you never show up. Always do what you say you're gonna do. That's integrity, man. Always do what you say you're gonna do. Especially when it comes to our children, man. Because you know what? If they get to that point where, you know, they gonna do the same thing. They gonna start not showing up for the things they need to show up for. Okay? So, first thing was what?
Be present.
Be present. What's the second thing?
Person of integrity.
Be a person of a father of integrity. Okay? The third one says, stop making excuses. As fathers, we always make an excuse. We got an excuse for this, we got an excuse for that. Stop making excuses, man. Show up. Stop making excuses. I grew up without a father in my house. My daddy died when I was 9.5 years old. And I figured that out the other day, so I just figured that my family just let me know, how you got 9.5? But I figured it out. I was 9.5. Because he died in January, and my birthday was in May, so I would have turned 10 in May, but he died in January, so that makes me 9.5. So I really didn't have a father figure in the house growing up. All I had was my mama, my sisters, and 2 older brothers. I got 4 children now. And I'm not going to make an excuse because I didn't have a father to be a father's man.
Amen.
And that's what we do. We make an excuse. Stop making excuses. Because you know what? You need to think about, okay, I didn't have it, so now I'm going to make sure they have it. Okay? I call it reverse engineering the thing. Okay? Reverse engineering. All right? You be better than that was. Okay? You live in another state. And we hear that all the time. You know, you might have a child, y'all got married or whatever, and this child live over here and you live over there. Well, I can't see him that much, or I can't talk to him. I just, I'm just not going to be in any type of relationship with him at all, because guess what? They live way 10 hours away. So now we don't have a relationship. Just because you're not in the house with them don't mean you can't have a relationship with them.
Amen.
Okay? They need you even more because you're not there in the house with them. And I can tell you this from my personal experience. I had a daughter before I got married. And most of my life, she's lived in a different state. But we always stayed in contact. When she was in elementary school, I used to write her letters and send them to her. And I kept a copy of it. You got to have receipts these days, right? So I kept a copy of all the letters.
Amen.
And you can ask my wife, man. I'm telling you. And just the other day, I guess maybe a couple of months ago, I was looking through some of my old files, and I found the letter that I had copied that I had sent to her when she was in elementary school. And she's over 40 now. And you know what I did with those letters? I put them in an envelope and I sent them to her. So just because you're not there, that don't mean you can't be a father to that child. I remember when certain things happened with her, I'm one of the first persons she's called. Why? Because I'm there. I might not be there physically all the time, but I'm there. I have a relationship. She knows she can pick up the phone and call daddy when she needs to talk. Okay? And that's what I'm talking about. We've got to have that type of relationship. We got to have that type of thing where we're not going to just walk away from them and leave them and let mama raise them. And you ladies are doing a great job of raising them, but you can't do it by yourself. Okay? You can't do it by yourself. I know you have to do it by yourself sometimes, but it sure is a lot easier, guess what? When you got somebody to help you. All right? And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes as well. Okay? So, about making excuses. You know what excuses are? Excuses are like armpits. You know why? Everybody got it when they both stand. So stop making excuses, man. Stop making excuses. All right? Because that's all there. It stink, man. All right? So stop making. Stop making. Okay? So that's the third. All right, the fourth one is this is what I need to help about the ladies here, man. I need your men, y'all need to help me on this one. Mothers, let your children have a relationship with their fathers. Let your children have a relationship with their father. Just cause y'all didn't work out. Now you mad with me, and you feeling some type of way, and you got some pain and some issues deep deep down inside, you don't like him no more, it don't matter. That's still his child. That child needs him. Because you know what? With my daughter sitting right there, there's things that I cannot give my daughter that my wife can give her. And there's things that I can give my daughter that my wife can't give her. We need both of them, not just one, we need both of them. Oh man, that ooh. I saw a statistic the other day that says, a mother by herself is not enough. And to back that up, it says 63% of all youth suicides come from fatherless homes. 63% of all suicides come from fatherless homes. 71% of all high school dropouts come from where? Fatherless homes. 75% of all chemical abuse patients are from where? Fatherless homes. 85% of all children with behavioral disorders are from fatherless homes. 85% of all youth in prison are from a fatherless home. That's why I say, ladies, you can't do it by yourself. And you're doing a great job if you got to do it by yourself. I know a lot of great single mothers who have done a great job. But it's a whole lot easier if you let that man play his part. Now, if he's some knucklehead and he's abusive and he's got all these other issues going on, no. Kick him to the curb. Get him out of here. But if he wants to be there, he's trying to be there, and he's making an effort to do that, and he wants to do it, and you hold him back because of personal reasons, who you think you're hurting? You're hurting the child. You're not hurting him. You're hurting the child. There was a movie that my wife and I watched the other day. It's a Christian movie, and it's called Overcomer. I don't know if anybody ever seen that movie or not, but it's a really good movie, man. And I can share a little bit with you to kind of back my point up that I'm trying to make here. But it was a young lady in the movie. She was 15 years old. She was a sophomore in high school, and her mother died when she was just born. And her mother died of drugs, had a drug overdose. Okay, and her boyfriend, this child's daddy, he was on drugs as well. So once the mama died, the father, he's still out there on drugs. So now the young girl goes and lives with her grandmother. So her grandmother is raising her. And so her grandmother tells her while she's raising her that your mother and your father are dead. She never told the young girl that her daddy was alive. Because you know what? Because she was upset and she had that pain deep down inside because she thought that this girl's daddy was responsible for drugging the mom. So she had a lot of envy, a lot of hate against the dad. Okay? But the dad was right there in the same place that the daughter was. But the dad at this point had gotten sick and he was in the hospital. He had diabetes and he lost his eyesight from the diabetes. So he didn't have long to live. Alright? But what happens is this girl is running cross country. And her cross country coach was a Christian guy. And so what happens now is the cross country coach and his pastor will go once a week and do visitations at the hospital. Okay, and when they went to the hospital, the coach accidentally stumbled into this man's room. And this man just happened to be that girl's dad. Nobody knew that. The coach didn't know that. You know what? And the girl's thinking that my dad is dead. So once the coach and the man start talking, he finds out that this man is this girl's dad. So now he goes back home to his wife, and he asks his wife and tells his wife, you know what, this is what I just found out. What are we going to do about it? Because the first thing they thought, okay, we need to tell her. So they prayed about it, and when they prayed about it, they decided they were going to tell her against the grandmama's wish. Because the grandma didn't like him, she didn't want nothing to do with him, she didn't want the daughter to like him, she didn't want the daughter to have nothing to do with him. So after prayer, they decided they were going to tell the young lady. So they told the young lady that we think we found your father. And she said, no, not my father, was he dead? See, grandmama had already put it in the mind that, you know what, dad's dead. Okay, so now, excuse me, she says that she wants to go and see him after they tell her, you know. So she said, okay, I want to go see him. All right, so long story short, she came and she met the dad, all right, and they had the cross country in common because he ran cross country as well. And he was like third in the state during his time when he ran cross country. So what happened is, I keep saying, make a long story short, but I gotta tell you so you can get the whole essence of the story, okay? So what happens now is that this girl ends up winning the state championship. She's never won a race in her life, but she ended up winning the state championship. The only reason she won the state championship was because her daddy coached her through it. So what they did was they set up a little tape thing where they recorded her father talking to her and gave her an earpiece during the race, and her father was talking her through the race. She said, you're coming up this hill now. I need you to run fast. I need you to put your arms up. I need you to pass this next person. And everything that he told her, she did. And she won the race. But now you think about it. Think about it. If she never had the opportunity to meet her father. And they had a great relationship. And he had a hand in, and see, he had changed his life. But the grandmama didn't know that he had changed his life. He had given his life to Christ, man. All right? And then he was instrumental in bringing her to Christ. And then the grandmama fussed at her and was mad at her because she was sneaking off, going to the hospital to see her dad. But all she had to do was say, hey, okay, your dad is alive. This is what it is, man. This is what it is. But it was a great story because she would have never have done what she done had she not met that man. That's her daddy. And 6 weeks after meeting him, guess what happened? He died. So she was able to spend 6 productive weeks with her dad. That's why we can't hold back. That's why we gotta let them be a part of these kids' lives, man. If they're no good, then I understand that. But let them be a part, okay? Let them be a part of these kids' lives, man. Okay? All right, that's the fourth thing. All right, so the last thing, like I said, I'll be brief on this here, okay? The last thing is, I want to share this story from the Bible, man. And it's from Luke 15, 11 through 24. How many of y'all know what that is? The prodigal son. And I'm going to read it with you, then I'm going to share some things with you that I'm going to get out your way. So in chapter 15, verse 11, it says, then he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. So he divided to them his livelihood. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, journeyed to a far country, and there wasted his possessions with riotous living. So now the son done got his money, he done went to Las Vegas, and it blew. Okay? But when he had spent all, there arose a severe famine in the land, and he began to be in want. He then went and journeyed himself to a citizen of that country. And he sent him into his fields to feed the swine or the pigs. And he would gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the swine ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough to spare, and I perish in hunger? That's deep. I will arise and go to my father, and will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was still a great ways off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell to his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. For the father said to his servants, bring out the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet. And bring the fatty calf here and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. So the whole point behind that is that this prodigal son thing shows a picture of God's love for his children. His love doesn't depend on if we are right or wrong, or good or bad. It's unconditional. He loves us while we were still sinners, while we were still out there getting in trouble, while we were still out there doing everything that we can find and do. Our Father still loves us. And that's the way we gotta have that same type of love for our children. They gonna sin, they gonna make mistakes, they gonna do things not the right way, but that unconditional love. When that man saw his son was wanting to come back, he ran out to meet him. He didn't sit there and wait for him to come. He ran out to meet him, and they had a party. A party, because the son that came to his senses and understood that, yeah, I asked for this. And that's a lot of times what our children do. A lot of times they want something before they're ready to receive it. And if they want something and before they are ready to receive it, what are they going to do? They're going to mess it up. They're going to mess it up every time. Okay? So no matter what you've done, we have to be willing to forgive and own up to our mistakes. You know, because Christ keeps forgiving us, man. You know what? He forgave us this much. And y'all know what that means? He loves us that much on the cross. Okay? Forgive us of our sins. Okay? All right. This last thing right here, it says, and I promise you, I'll finish it down. Okay? This last thing I want to leave you with. And it's a little quote that I found, that I saw, that I like. And it's going to be titled Advice to the Fathers. It says, do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as you can. Okay. Just want to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. I enjoyed it. I hope you got some